एक मिनट रुक जाओ, रेडी होने दो। चलो ये कर लेते हैं। दिस कुड बी अ ग्रेट इंट्रो।
Hi, I'm Akshay.
Hi, this is Saurabh, and you are listening to the Founder Thesis podcast. We meet some of the most celebrated startup founders in the country.
And we want to learn how to build a unicorn.
My name is Amit Lakhotia, and I'm the founder and CEO for Park Plus.
Everyone knows this jingle when a payment is made using the Paytm wallet. But did you know that way back in 2012, when Amit Lakhotia joined Paytm as a very young fintech startup, it did not have a wallet. And in fact, it was Amit's initiative to launch a wallet for Paytm and take it through the journey of becoming India's default alternative to cash. Despite his successes as an employee, Amit was always driven by the need to create an impact as the founder of a business. And finally, he took the plunge in 2019 with his venture Park Plus. Park Plus has been an agile startup adapting to the need of the time and supporting India in combating the second wave of COVID while also scaling up its core offering.
Here's Amit telling Akshay Dutt about his experience at IIM Ahmedabad, which he joined a year after completing his engineering degree.
My experience was actually transformational. Like every guy you meet is like a topper somewhere. Every guy you meet has like tons of credit in his life earlier, and you were like, "यार मैं इस जगह कैसे आ गया?" And like people will just keep mesmerizing you. Like the same guy will be topping in academics, would be good in sports. Some guys would be good in music as well. And you are like, "यार हमने तो कुछ किया ही नहीं life में." So that constant reminder, like, will keep hitting you one way or the other. That I should have probably made more use of my graduation days. That's what you saw people doing there, and that is one thing. The second thing is respect for time. So most of the deadlines would be like 8:59, 59. So which means you have to, like, it can't be even 9 o'clock. It is 8:59, 59. So systems, whether it is online, whether offline, they will close. Like I have seen my class professors just shutting down doors of class on me because I was just like maybe a second late. They could see me running to the class, but the class doors still got, like, imagine you waking up at like 8:50, realizing the class is at 9, and then you are running literally a kilometer to just reach to the class, and still you are probably late by a couple of seconds. The professor can see you running towards him. You are like 20, 25 meters from the class, and still the door gets shut down on your face. So those things happened. And then what you also understood was, like, because the quality of peers around you was very high, the quality of work expectation was also very high. People will call it out if you try to bullshit, if you try to present crap. वो सारा चीज था. I think the quality of peers was very, very high. That was like unthinkable type. And then you go through the heavy pressure situations, whether it is in like surprise quizzes every day. You don't know which subject quiz would happen today, and then placements. Obviously, again, like, it sounds very exciting from outside that, oh, top companies come. Yeah, matlab, top companies would come, but what would happen is those 3, 4, 5, 6 days of placements, like, it is nerve wracking. Because you just move from one room to another room for another conversation, another room to another room for another conversation.
हाँ. तो मेक माई ट्रिप कैसे हुआ? बिकॉज उस टाइम पे मेक माई ट्रिप मस्ट हैव बीन वेरी हाई रिस्क ना. वो उस टाइम पे तो वो मतलब like the top employers would have been banks, FMCGs, consulting companies.
So everybody wanted to be a consultant or a banker at that point of time. Like, these were the highest paying jobs at that time. I used to run a small souvenir shop within the campus. So which is like every campus has this souvenir shop, and our shop, the IMA shop, was run by students. Normally people will run it from a point of view, a CV point. Okay, I can write, like, and I ran that business very, very seriously. So I converted that to, from a loss of say 30, 40, 50,000 per annum to a profit of about 1 lakh, 1.5 lakh rupees per annum. And I used to spend, and in about 8, 9 months, and I used to spend a lot of time doing that. And I understood that was my calling. I never wanted to be a banker. I never wanted to be a consultant.
हाँ, मतलब आपको धंधा चलाना था basically.
So I realized my kick was there. I got a private equity from campus, private equity campus from the offer. And but I still thought that नहीं यार वो नहीं करना है. I'm still too early. I don't even understand business. I think of investment as in a private equity stuff. And till the time I am not in a operating role, I don't think so I can understand business and the pressure that goes along with it. So like I came out, and at that point of time I did my summer internship at ITC, and I realized that the whole FMCG distribution was broken. Like it was completely dependent on the last guy, whether he's sincere, not sincere, etc. A typical sales guy would look at like one particular area with like 1,000 shops, but he can go only to like 10-15 shops in a day, which means probably he'll cover about only 30-40 shops. Rest are like at the mercy of the other shopkeepers, distributors, etc. And I thought that if there is a system which can digitize everything, like company real time knows how much of stock is available at any point of time, and if it is depleting, the company can immediately send fresh stock without depending on like the sales guy, because that quality is can't be consistent. I said that company would have a lot of leverage, and that is the point of time. Like we used to tell our friends in US, भाई तू जब US से आ रहा हो तो मेरे लिए लैपटॉप ले आइयो या कैमरा ले आइयो. The understanding was that because it is online, you can stock it at a remote warehouse, and then when people order it, you can ship from there. So you don't have to pay your costs around location, rent, lot of employees, etc. And I was one of those guys like who used to love coding at that part of time. So I said, yeah, I would look at an internet company to start. And मतलब उस टाइम इतना पता नहीं था कि you would require so much capital even for an internet company. Like companies can run billions of dollars without getting profitable. उस time like we thought like शुरू हो जाएगा तो फिर चीजें आ ही जाएगी. And that is where I reached out to people. Like, and that time there were only 3 decent sized internet companies: Shadi, Naukri, and Make My Trip. And Naukri had done their IPO, so they were big. And Shadi, like at that age, I didn't want to join anything which is remotely connected to marriages. And then Make My Trip was the only company left in the whole set. And I reached out to Deep. Deep was senior at IMA, like 90, super senior, 92 batch. He was very surprised because the Make My Trip wasn't the company people used to aspire from IMA or any of the IMs actually. So I was like the first IMA grad to join Make My Trip after IMA. There was no other IMA guy at that point of time. So and idea was like in my first meeting I told Deep कि सर मेरे को आता नहीं है, but my aim is to spend 3-4 years and build a strong business. So give me a business which doesn't require a lot of intervention from a lot of other people, but still can become sizable. And Deep said, see, we are a B2C company. So if you become a part of a B2C business, like कोई ना कोई तेरे को पेन मारता रहेगा. And so why don't you look at our B2B business? So he said, why B2B is not very sexy, but like India is B2B right now. Like that time card penetration was lower, internet penetration was lower, smartphones were negligible, like वो सब कुछ था. So and most of the ticket bookings, like I think 90-95% of the bookings were happening through travel agents. So he said, why don't you look at that business? He said clearly that gradually internet penetration etc. will increase, B2C will become bigger, but that time will come at a certain time. अभी तो नहीं है वो time. So I said, that's okay, I'll look at that business. So my role was to build the whole B2B distribution business, which means that travel agents, corporates, etc. could log into the Make My Trip platform at that point of time and to book. And that was like by the time I left, close to $100 million annual GMV business, and it was profitable. And actually, it was about 1/3, 1/4 of Make My Trip business at that time.
Well, you started from zero. this business?
Yeah, started from zero. वो नहीं था. And for like, and what also happened was, like I joined Make My Trip in 2007, and 2008 recession hit, and so company did not had enough money to even invest. Like, and so for like a whole year and a half, I kept running with like just two engineers
To build the product, matlab,
to build the product. Huh. So that was a super painful time at that point of time, because I did not come, I wasn't a very extrovert guy. So, and I haven't done sales in my life earlier. मतलब वो था बिजनेस करना है, बट जिंदगी में कभी बाहर जाके कुछ बेचा नहीं था. एंड व्हेन यू गो आउट, तो फिर उसके बाद like it was uncomfortable, because McMatrick was known as a B2C brand. There was no B2B variant at that point of time. I spent nearly a year to build the B2B variant, and by 2009, when the things started becoming better, companies started giving more investment in this business, and that is where I set up the whole sales team, distribution team. The business scaled up well at that point of time.
शुरू में आप ही salesman थे, मतलब you used to
हाँ
go.
हाँ, I used to go.
And did you like target the agencies first, या corporates first, या मतलब
Agencies. I went to a couple of corporates, and then I realized that my product is not at that level, and most of the corporates didn't want to do DIY at that point of time. And the features they would ask for, ये भी automate होना चाहिए, ये भी होना चाहिए, ये भी होना चाहिए. Then I realized that we are still some time away. Let me first build the product from a travel agent point of view, and then probably go to the corporate part.
got it. Okay, ठीक है. So and then you know, what made you switch and, you know, move to another company? Like, I think you had your own startup after that, na?
So like I spent about 4 years at Make My Trips, saw the IPO happening, and like I told you, na, I was always keen on doing my own stuff. So one of my friends at Make My Trip, like he started this taxi company called Get Me Cab, and the basic thesis was that the flight has been already aggregated by Make My Trip, and rail is already aggregated online, bus is aggregated by Red Bus. What are left? Things left, which are hotels and cabs. And the way Make My Trip wanted to sell hotel was to list hotels and then sell. And my approach was slightly different. I was thinking that this is not the way Indian consumers transact hotels. What they do is they get to the location, see 3-4 hotels themselves, they negotiate on the price, and they go to the best hotel available. So I said, why don't we replicate this same scenario in the offline world? So what would in the online world? So what would happen is, and that time the cab services was broken. There was no way to book a cab also. And what was also interesting was, like, if you look at most of the top locations in India, like for example, if you look Delhi as an example, you look Shimla, Manali, Mussoorie, Nainital, Dehradun, Jaipur, like all these locations are not very well connected by trains or airports, or even if they are connected, they are super expensive. Like you can't take a 4-member, 5-member family from Delhi to Shimla in a flight. मतलब possible नहीं है. And roads were fairly well connected. So I said most of the people will be driving through roads. So like and taxi, there was no taxi service. So idea was, like, if I can put people in my taxi, the driver takes them to the 4 hotels which I've already shortlisted, and tell them to negotiate whatever the price they want to negotiate. Also, driver tells them an indicative value, saying typically this hotel becomes available at this price, etc. So that way, like, what happens is customer gets that his kick, that I have seen the hotels, I have negotiated, etc., etc. I don't care about which hotel customer books, because all 4 are my hotels. And with hotelier, I have a clear understanding that I'll get a 15-20% cut. And what also happens is, see, now the guy is in your cab, right? And my understanding was gradually where to eat, where to shop, what to activities to do. Everything is normally driven through driver. And see, today we are very well connected on phones, and we can check reviews, etc. That is the point of time smartphones weren't prevalent. So I was like, anyways, you are asking the driver. Even today, like when you go to a location, you always start with asking driver, भैया और कौन सी जगह है? And driver will tell you, यहाँ जाना है, यहाँ जाना है, यहाँ जाना है. Then you might do a review, check, etc. but driver plays a key important role when in your outstation trip. So my idea was, if that all set of activities get completed on my platform itself, like I can make a 15-20% cut on every activity. And like then suddenly, like if your per day spend is like 5,000 rupees, which is including your hotel, which is including your food, which is including some part of shopping, etc. And if I can make like a 15-18% out there, I'll make like a 700 500 to 1,000 rupees per day of that trip. And if that trip is like 3-4-5 days, then suddenly you can make 3-4-5,000 rupees. And that business started working that way. अच्छा business था, that business started working that way.
So, if I understand correctly, people could book a taxi, let's say from Delhi to Shimla, on your platform. And when they book the taxi, then you also have this upselling happening there, in which you introduce them to hotels, introduce them to places to eat, etc. And you are also earning from those introductions.
That's right.
ठीक है, got it. So, like, what happened? Like, this was a 1-year experiment. Why did it not work out?
So actually, from a business point of view, it did very well. Like we broke even in the third month of operation. We were doing close to about 100 transactions a day. And all our capex, opex of the office, all salaries, etc. We were bootstrapped, and everything was still like getting paid through the revenue generated by the business. So it was a fairly decent business. That time Ola also came. Ola was actually a year ahead of us. And then Ola and Taxi4 shifted their focus from outstation to within city. And Ola also raised some capital. Taxi4 sure was also raising capital. And that is the point of time when there wasn't a lot of capital available, or even if it was available, it was coming at a very high cost. Like they will say, we'll give you 2 crore, but we'll value company at say 7 crore, 10 crore, that kind of stuff. And I was like, कि यार अगर करोड़ 2 crore ही उठाने हैं तो फिर वो, like we had made some money out of Make My Trip ESOPs when we had sold them. And then I said, like, what is the point of raising 2 crore at 7 crore type? कोई फायदा नहीं है. And that is where me and my partner had a disconnect. So I was one of those guys who wanted to build the business aggressively, who want to build a big business. The other guy, like, we had a philosophy difference and how to build the business, how to run a business, etc. So it didn't work out between both of us. So I said, okay, that's okay. Like you started the business, you should continue with the business. Then I moved out types.
Okay. And that business obviously didn't scale much, ना? क्योंकि आज तो वो
हाँ, उसके बाद हाँ वो exist करता है, but like it is still very small.
अच्छा, okay. ठीक है. So then you joined Paytm.
Then I joined. Like I was trying to figure out what to do, and since this business had done well, like from an operations point of view, like it built that confidence that चल जाएगा, मैं बना लूंगा. So I was again looking at doing my own stuff, but that time it wasn't very clear कि क्या बनाना चाहिए. Like Snapdeal was still selling coupons, Flipkart was selling books, etc. And मेरा ना उन धंधे पे बहुत confidence नहीं था. I was like, यार कूपन वाला धंधे में क्या मजा आएगा? कुछ मजा ही नहीं है. मतलब beyond a point, people aren't going to look at coupons, etc. Can't be a value prop. तो वो सारी चीजें थी. So I was still trying to figure out what to do. And that is the point of time I met Vijay, and at one of somewhere, and Vijay said, why don't you come and build payments for us? And my Make My Trip experience taught me that payments in India were very bad at that point of time. Success rates were low, response rates were very, very bad. Refunds could take anywhere between 3 to 4 weeks to come in. There was no visibility on when the refunds would, etc., happen. So I knew that payment experience was broken, and that is the point of time I also realized that I don't know what will click in India for online sales, but whatever will click, it will require payments. So फर्क ही नहीं पड़ता क्या बड़ा होगा, जो बड़ा होगा उसको पेमेंट चाहिएगा. So I said, let's improve the payment experience.
Okay. And this was B2B or B2C?
This was B2C.
Okay.
Consumer experience.
Okay. तो मतलब जो Paytm का जो main wallet business है, तो that is what you built.
That is what I built. So the idea was like there were two thoughts. One is everybody at that point of time was focusing on improving the payment gateway success. So like PayU was there, Cetra started, CC Avenue started, etc. And I was like, see, in payment gateway, I am finally dependent still on the bank, because finally, for example, if user selects net banking, like I can show him pre-selected net banking, that's okay, but finally he will land on the bank page to enter his credential, do the transaction. And if the bank page are not smooth, तो finally वो आपको fight होगी ही होगी. I wanted to build a business where I can take the bank out of the picture. So, and that is where the wallet concept came in. So I said, if the user keeps money with me, then I can get the transaction done without involving bank. Effectively, like I need bank only for adding money in the wallet.
This was like originally your idea to start the wallet?
Yeah. So and that was very, very radical, because everybody was like, why will people add money in the wallet? You don't even pay interest. Why would people trust you? And all those conversations happened. And I also did not have an answer. कि क्यों करेंगे? But I was like, if the payment would be solved, this is the only way. I can't see of any other way, because there are 40 different banks in country. Even if one bank or two bank improves their infra, it doesn't matter, because the rest banks look messed up. So the only way to do is to handle it yourself. And then we had started a recharge as a use case.
हाँ. उस टाइम पे आई थिंक पेटीएम वाज बेसिकली अ रिचार्ज कंपनी ना, लाइक
हाँ, रिचार्ज कंपनी था.
व्हेन यू जॉइंड. हाँ.
तो then I said, yeah, recharge करते हैं. And so what happened was, like, one is the payment failure, but the second what used to also happen is the operator failure, fulfillment failure. So even if the money is debited, like for example, 10% of the time Airtel site is down or Airtel app is down. BSNL used to be very, very down for a longer time, and there were like 7, 8 operators at that point of time, like Aircel, Voda, and even like Tata Communications, like 7, 8 players were there.
वीडियोकॉन का भी था.
हाँ, वो सब कुछ था.
हाँ.
So what used to happen was, like, 10% of the transactions were failing from fulfillment point of view. And on the thank you page, we were saying your transaction has failed, take refund, your refund will be processed. And user used to say, भाई मेरे को refund नहीं चाहिए, क्योंकि refund तो anyways वो 3-4 हफ्ते में आएगा, मुझे charge करके दो ना phone. And then we realized कि यार this is a great use case for wallet. So we started telling people that while your transaction has failed, but the money is there in the wallet, you can use it to recharge again, try again. So people said, अरे ये तो अच्छा है कि, because now I don't have to go through that whole payment flow, because payment flow itself has like a 30% failure. So every time you try again, and there is a chance that 30% of the time it will fail again. तो you were like, यार ये तो problem है, अब कम से कम पैसा wallet में तो retrial faster हो गए. And then what we said was, okay, you don't have to worry, we'll retry automatically for you for 3 hours, because the money is with me. Whenever the recharge happens, I'll give you the recharge. So customers were like, wow, this is amazing. So वैसा हुआ. And what also happened is, so as the recharge business grew, the wallet business started growing automatically. मतलब users use case around wallet, education around wallet automatically started happening. Like in about 6 months, we started doing about 70,000, 100,000 transactions on recharge, and 10%, as I said, was failing. So every day we were effectively creating 10,000 wallets. So like 8-10,000 people were getting taught every day in terms of, and what also happens is mobile recharge. People used to see, there were two things that used to happen. The first thing was, at that point of time, every home had one person who was considered to be good with technology. तो सारे रिचार्ज है ना उसी को बोल दिए जाते थे. पापा भी उसको बोलेंगे, भाई भी उसको बोलेगा, बहन भी मम्मी उसी को बोलेगी, मम्मा भी उसी को बोलेगी. तो अब वो बंदा बर्डन हो गया, because what would happen is he was expected to deliver. He can't say कि रिचार्ज नहीं हुआ for whatever reason. Like you will tell him कि भाई ये 100 रुपए का रिचार्ज कर दियो, and 10 मिनट बाद बोलोगे अभी तो किया नहीं क्या. Now to save his pride, ego, etc., he has to get the recharge done in 10 minutes. And now, like, somebody's on Airtel within home, somebody's on Voda. Now this guy can't go once to Airtel then through Voda. What started happening was that this guy then started coming to Paytm कि यहाँ सब मिल जाता है. And second क्या होने लगा कि because now he has to do 2-3 recharges. So what would happen is rather than adding money, rather than doing it through payment gateway every time, he also realized कि यार 2,000 रुपए डाल दो इसमें, फिर 100 200 करके कर दो जब करना है. So he doesn't have to go through the payment flow again and again. So I think that was a very interesting insight that came in at that point of time. So like these users and the typical Indian users are not known to like keep a lot of money with telcos because of the vast business, etc. Like they were uncomfortable. They were not sure of safety of their money. मतलब वो कौन सी रिंगटोन अचानक एक्टिवेट हो जाएगी और उसके 10 रुपए का अचानक कट जाएंगे. So like people said, okay, people used to tell telcos कि अच्छा आप स्मार्ट हो ना, तो हम सुपर स्मार्ट, हम पैसे ही नहीं रखेंगे, काटोगे इसको. So people used to recharge like it is not like we'll keep 1,000 rupees with the Airtel. So what people started doing is let's keep 1,000 rupees with Paytm and then keep adding 100 rupees to Airtel rather than keeping 1,000 rupees with Airtel. तो वैसा हुआ. तो then things started, the recharge business started scaling, and that clearly validated the use case of wallet.
हाँ. So when did it become beyond just recharge? Like wallet का use case expand कब हुआ?
हाँ मैं बताता हूँ. तो then we applied to RBI for the wallet license, and we got the wallet license in I think 2013 end. And once we got the recharge wallet use case, this thing, then we started approaching the outside merchants like Home Shop at Zovi, Book My Show, etc.
E-commerce companies basically.
हाँ, e-commerce companies. हाँ, मतलब aim was to put wallet at a lot of places. And वो सब होने लगा. And then gradually we started becoming 2-3% of transactions of these companies, which was like bigger than some of the net banking options. And then we integrated with Uber at that point of time. Uber gave us a lot of visibility, PR, etc.
Now, Uber was responsible for me also loading my wallet on Paytm.
So Uber had two benefits for us. The first benefit was like it brought a lot of those users who were earlier not on Paytm. Like I'll say high spending users. And second was also happened was like Uber had only Paytm for a long time. So like exactly that told merchants, that told consumers that you don't require anything else for payments. Paytm is good enough. And suddenly a lot of merchants, a lot of customers started viewing Paytm very, very seriously. तो वो अच्छा हुआ. And like a lot of decision makers were using Uber at any point of time.
हाँ. So when did you go offline? मतलब वो QR code जो
So we were very clear कि offline तो जाना ही है. And some of the flows that we started were like give mobile number to the merchant and OTP will come, etc. And we didn't like those flows. We said like it is just too cumbersome. And that is a point of time where the China investment happened. I went to China and to see how things are going. And then that is a point of time we discovered QR code in China. And उससे पहले पता नहीं था कैसे होता है.
वो मतलब Alipay was using QR code.
And we started seeing that everybody in China is using QR code. But it is very popular. And we ourselves tried it and we were like, oh, this is very cool. This is very easy. And it doesn't require two-side effort. Like earlier, I will give the number to somebody, he'll punch in the number, then I'll give the OTP. This is all time consuming exercise. With QR code, I can just scan at a user side. And I can tell the merchant paise aage dekh lo. So he has to just check. Doesn't need to be involved. And then we started putting QR codes in the world, offline world. Obviously, that time QR codes were novelty. People were like not very. People didn't understand what is this happening. But like when it caused a lot of curiosity, because when you go to a merchant and if you saw someone scanning the QR code, taking out his phone, and you're like, ye kya hota hai? And for a lot of people, it was like a pleasant surprise. Oh, I can pay like this. So a lot of experiment and trials started happening that way. And then like our online penetration became big. When the online started becoming big, like offline, it started rubbing on the offline world as well. तो वो सारी चीजें हुई उस time. And then we applied to the bank license. In about 6 months, we got the bank license. Like we were fairly big. Like digital payments that time meant Paytm. Like there were no other close competitors. Like today, when you say I'll message you, so it automatically means that you'll message me on WhatsApp. You don't have to tell me. And that time, like when you say I'll do the digital payments, it meant Paytm. And what we also did was this was a very interesting, which was transferring money through mobile numbers. That was also a good hack. So like I don't know with maybe scanning the QR code, but if I can know your number, I can just transfer money. I don't have to bother over like whether I know your bank account or not. Like this was like the UPI thing only, but we did it with wallet. And people were like, for a small ticket, people were just transferring money like this. So that also become very very popular. So P2P happened, P2M happened. Then the number started shooting up. Like by the time I left, I think we were doing about, I think some 4 or 5 million transactions a day. So that was the whole journey at Paytm.
So, मतलब this was such a powerful journey. आपने मतलब from zero you created India's leading wallet. Why did you leave Paytm? मतलब why couldn't they retain you?
Yeah, so ये थोड़ा सा complicated story है. Like I had spent 4 years, we got the bank license, and what was happening was now there was an opportunity that am I ready to spend another 4 or 5 years to build a bank? And I was very very like keen. I was very very keen to understand how to why would a user take our bank account. Like I had already seen that while ICICI offered you say 4% interest rate and Kotak offered 6%, somebody offered 7% also. It's not that people switched account massively. So we were like, what will make people switch to us? Until the time that doesn't happen, like wallet, you were very clear that it is very convenient to pay. So that value prop was very easy, clear. But with bank account, you are trusting a bank as a user with a bigger set of money. And how do you build that trust? Like you can't build a trust overnight. Like at a individual level also, like would I trust ICICI to keep my money, or would I accept trust Paytm to keep my money? I think it is very obvious that I'll keep trust ICICI to keep my money. See, even if Tata tomorrow starts a bank, like it is not that the people will just move, because people have been banking with somebody, things have been going on fine. It's a large set of money. You don't want to suffer pain. You don't want to suffer surprises. तो वो सारी चीजें नहीं है possible. So I said I want to have a clarity around कि करना क्या है, and I want to be convinced myself, and that is the point of time. Like the company wanted to build the whole marketplace business. Like the whole attention was on the marketplace business, and then suddenly the payments became big. Everybody wanted to talk about payment, etc. And वो सारी चीजें हुई. And the founder Vijay was obviously in a rush to launch wallet, launch bank, etc. And I wasn't very clear कि क्यों. Well, I said like let's first finalize कि what is the value prop, etc. तो जब तक value prop finalize नहीं है, what is the point of rushing in? So I had a disconnect with Vijay in terms of how to run the bank. And then I said, ठीक है आप चलाओ, मतलब आप founder हो. That is how it worked.
Okay. So I've read that that there has been this kind of so like Praveen Jadhav, who set up Paytm Money, also quit. So, like Paytm is not able to retain the entrepreneurial people who set up businesses there.
यार मतलब I don't want to comment that way, but like मतलब every guy who want to build business will need space and will take his calls, and till the time company doesn't allow that level of calling to happen, तो वो होगा. And fundamentally है ना, वो कई बार है ना कि see building businesses means taking a lot of calls, and these calls sometimes may be logical, sometimes may not seem very logical.
हाँ, intuition.
हाँ वो intuition है ना, मतलब sometimes when I look back, I still can't defend it logically. Why would people keep money at Paytm wallet? मतलब जब बैंक में इंटरेस्ट मिल रहा है और आप इंटरेस्ट नहीं दे रहे हो, how meaningless that interest could be. But why would people keep? मतलब वो लॉजिकल नहीं है. But that is what your intuition is showing you. That वो 100 रुपए के रिचार्ज में लोगों को पेन ज्यादा हो रहा है. You can't defend it. Like for example, we Indians, I'll tell you another thing. We Indians have been always brought up with looking at the bill and then paying. Like we go to a supermarket, the guy will say it is 700 rupees. You say bill देना. You look at the bill and like computer generated bill है, उसमें क्या गलती होगी? लेकिन आप देखोगे ही देखोगे, and then you pay. And what happened was when I built the Uber experience, I said नहीं बिल विल नहीं दिखाएंगे, सीधा ऑटो डेबिट हो जाएगा and the guy can move out. And like whether within the company, whether with RBI, there were like tons of debates. नहीं यार, we Indians are comfortable looking at the bill. ऐसे गलत काट दिया तो उबर ने, ये तो गलत है, यूजर देखना चाहता है. And I said then it is not the experience, because experience is I can just walk out. And there used to be a lot of debate. मतलब आज this today it looks very logical, auto debates. That time, remember, like Uber did not had fixed pricing model. Only at the end of the trip you would know what is the right price. आज तो आपको बता देता है पॉइंट ए टू पॉइंट बी 400 रुपए लगेगा. That time it was like only per kilometer or like those kind of stuff.
But yeah, you're right about that experience. मतलब you know the fact के आप destination पे पहुंचे, आपने दरवाजा खोला और आप निकल गए, कुछ मतलब और कुछ करना ही नहीं है, was so revolutionary. You know, मतलब you could not imagine this kind of comfort in using a cab in the pre-Paytm Uber days.
तो अब वो सब, वो मतलब वही कह रहा हूँ ना कि दिस इज व्हाट यू बिलीव हाउ द फ्यूचर शुड बी. मतलब ये ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए ना कि नहीं यार लोग यही करते आए हैं तो यही होगा. तो like now these are the calls that need to be taken. These are example of some of the external calls. Similarly, there are internal calls. And what also happens is sometimes these journeys are 0 to 1 journey. And whoever has driven that 0 to 1 journey may not necessarily be the right guy for 1 to 100 as well. Because what happens is वो ब्यूरोक्रेसी आ जाती है, फोकस आ जाता है लोगों का, बहुत लोग उस बिजनेस को देखने लगते हैं. सडनली योर इन्वेस्टर स्टार्ट टेलिंग यू कि ये तो इसको स्ट्रक्चर करते हैं, इसको ऐसे नहीं ऐसे करते हैं, इसको ऐसे नहीं ऐसे करते हैं. एंड देन यू आर लाइक यार मैं ये थोड़ी कर रहा हूँ. एंड स्पेशली व्हेन यू हैव डन द 0 to 1 जर्नी, मतलब यू आर लाइक यार तू भाई अपने मेरे को मत सिखाना, मैं ही तो बना के लाया हूँ. मतलब तेरे को हवा भी नहीं है कि क्या बनता है. लाइक वेदर दैट इज एरोगेंस, वेदर दैट इज समथिंग एल्स, आई डोंट नो. बट यू स्टार्ट फीलिंग कि यार मैं बना के लाया हूं तो मुझे करने देना और मैं कर ही रहा हूं. व्हाई आर यू इंटरफेयरिंग अननेसेसरली? Those things happen.
Okay. So you then started looking for your next 0 to 1 journey?
So like after Paytm, I was home for about 5-6 months. And typically that's how I operated. Before Paytm also, I was at home for 3 months. So I normally take like a 3-4 month off, complete off, not doing anything at all after every stint. तो वैसा किया हुआ लाइफ में कई बारी. So that happened, and then that is the point of time the whole Tokopedia, I was trying to figure out what to do, and incidentally SoftBank as well as Sequoia approached me for their Indian companies, and I wasn't very convinced about their Indian companies at that point of time, and both of them referred about Tokopedia, and I was like India se bahar kaun jayega. But then like I went, looked at the Indonesian market. I spent about a week there. I liked the business, I like the market, and then I said ठीक है try करते हैं.
What is Tokopedia?
Tokopedia is like a Flipkart equivalent of Indonesia. Actually, more than Flipkart, it is like a Taobao equivalent of Indonesia. So it's a pure play marketplace. Actually, Indians haven't seen how is a pure play marketplace work. Because if you look at Flipkart, if you look at Amazon, these guys stock inventory. These are selling their own. These are also setting their whole prices because they own the inventory. Merchants are not owning. Merchants are not. So like this is more like a not a market. This is like a branch.
It's like online retail basically.
So then I said ki bhai, I liked the way Toko has built. Like there were tons of merchants. Like there were millions of merchants on Tokopedia, genuine merchants. Like Tokopedia did not own a single SKU of inventory. Everything was sold by merchants. Customer could select which merchant. Customer will select which payment method. In fact, customer will also select which mode of delivery. So, for example, today in India, you don't know whether it is going to be delivered by Blue Dart or Gati or like anybody else. Customer there would select. So, like it was a pure play marketplace everywhere. So that business scaled up very well in about next 2.5 years. Became like a $7 billion business. They raised about $7 billion. Raised about $1 billion at about 7 billion valuation by the time I left, again from Alibaba and SoftBank. And that is the point of time my wife was expecting.
What was your role there, Tokopedia mein?
My role was to build the whole digital and fintech business. So imagine building a whole PTM within a Flipkart. Not only payment, but like Paytm has this whole billing thing, Paytm has this whole fintech thing, wallet is another thing. So building all that within Tokopedia was my role. So that happened, and that again did very well. And as I said, my wife was expecting the second kid at that point of time. So then I came back, spent about another 6 or 9 months actually doing again nothing. And then I figured out, I was very, and what my Indonesian experience taught me was Indonesia's per capita income was 2x of India's per capita income. And this is also what my Paytm experience taught me, that while when I left Paytm, we were, I think, were at about 120, 150 million wallets. But the actual frequently transacting wallets, I think, were only 20, 30 million. It took us a lot of effort for getting the other users to keep transacting. And my realization in both the cases was there were limited Indians with spending power. So the people who have standing power, तो वो तो चीजें हो रही है, वो तो spend कर रहे हैं. But others it is tough. So I said, like, whatever I want to build for Indians who have the spending power. So the first part of journey was obviously to build everything for all Indians. But the second part of the journey has been as a business, it makes sense to spend, and I always wanted to always have a social angle to my business. So I was like, how do we improve the life of the people? And then when you look at your cities, parking is a problem, road driving is a problem, urban infra is a problem. Gadkari ji is constructing 30-40 kilometers of road every day, and that is changing infra across India. But most of those roads are being constructed outside main cities. Like if somebody is constructing 30, 40, 50 kilometers of roads every day outside Delhi, and my main commute is in Delhi, it doesn't solve my day-to-day problem. That is important for trucks to travel. That is important for goods to move. That is also important when I go from Delhi to say as sightseeing. But it doesn't impact my day-to-day stuff. So that day-to-day stuff is a problem. So I said, is it possible for us to improve the quality of living for urban cities in India? And this is how the Park Plus thing came in.
Okay. So what is like the you would not have done so many things in the first version of the product. ना शुरू में आपने कोई एक smaller area select किया होगा. तो tell me about that journey. Like what did you decide to focus on, and then how did you expand the offerings gradually?
So I think the first thing we wanted to solve for was the parking problem. So every customer could easily identify with the parking problem. कि क्या problem है, क्या नहीं है. Like everybody knew that he's spending 5 to 10 minutes every morning figuring out where to park. There is a wastage of time, there's a wastage of fuel, and there is a mental stress getting built, and then you end up parking on the road, which just congests the road further. So if you have typically a 3-lane road, typically one lane gets reduced, gets out of the equation just because people have parked their cars there. So suddenly your road capacity has come down by 33%. तो वो problems है. So now what happened was, so we started aggregating supply, going to the suppliers, getting them on board, giving them our app, giving them our POS devices, etc.
What do you mean supplier? Like जो parking lots?
The parking operators.
This is like जो MCD operators हैं, private operators सब मतलब.
Exactly. तो वैसा वाला scene है. तो we started getting them on board. So we started building the product, but at that same time the COVID thing happened, lockdown happened, etc. And let's not focus a lot more on parking because that is going to take some time. So we started focusing on building the access control product that we talked about, like going to societies. Like every time you get out of the society, it takes you a couple of minutes because the guard will stop you, look at the sticker, and then manually allow you. It's like an irritant every morning. Every time you go in, every time you go out, it's an irritant. And what also happens is some of the societies who have the windshield, and there are multiple stickers. So if you have lived in, for example, 2-3 societies, you worked in 2-3 companies, the chances are like your car windshield is like a ad dashboard. Like I've seen people with stickers of PwC, KPMG as well as ENY. There is no way anybody can work in the same company, well, all three companies at the same time. So everybody is looking at manual stickers, and it. So I said, is it possible if we can build a single RFID tag which works everywhere? So that is the journey where we started with, and then we started onboarding corporates, then we started onboarding societies, malls, etc. That is the journey we started with, and that is the business we started scaling up fairly well. Now, like about 12-15% of whole Gurgaon, and about 10% of whole Bombay, 5% of all Bangalore societies users, tons of corporates like Vatika, Brookfield, ENY, these guys, Hiranandani, Mindspace, Blackstone, all these guys use our system today. If you can't go like a kilometer in Gurgaon without crossing a Park Plus society today. So that business has been also scaling up well. And at the end of the year, like we realized that the government is pushing FASTag significantly. So we said, is it possible for us to build our own network of for issuing FASTag? So we tied up with IDFC Bank. We became the biggest issuer of FASTag for them.
Okay. So, matlab, the FASTag is built into your single RFID. Yeah, there is a second.
Yeah. So the FASTag is built in the single RFID system.
Okay. And who pays for this RFID? So does the car owner pay for it? Yeah, the society pay for it.
Societies pay for this, but most of the time the societies charge the car owner themselves. Like one way or the other, the car owner will pay.
And how much does it cost the society to, like, what is the economics of it?
So typically, like what we have done is, rather than the capex model, see, we realize that a lot of societies also had the existing barriers, but most of the time that the barriers won't work because the vendor would have taken the capex money and then he will vanish. Nobody bothered about servicing. So what we said was, rather than doing capex, let's do opex. तो वो किया तो like society typically pays about 7,000 rupees per gate per month. So we have built it in a kind of a rental model. So the hardware remains of Park Plus all the time, but societies keep paying a rental. And from a society point of view, it is a great solution because now they don't have to bother about the maintaining the hardware. That is all Park Plus hassles. What also happens is, if tomorrow the hardware doesn't work for whatever reason, the society doesn't need to pay me.
Right. Okay. So you install a RFID reader and that boom barrier.
Yeah, exactly.
And you issue whatever number of, but you must be charging something per issue of RFID.
So we charge 100 rupees. The RFID tag get charged for 100 rupees.
That's a one-time.
That's a one-time thing.
Okay, got it. So you're competing here with companies like MyGate, no? MyGate also has.
So MyGate is actually a partner, because what happens is MyGate looks at the visitors, and my solution is a lot more directed toward the residents who have the cars. So it is a slight nuisance. There is some nuance out there. So and MyGate is not into hardware. So what we do is we work with them. See, one of the things which most of the Indian entrepreneurs have done wrong in last few years is they have tried to build everything of their own. Like if you look at Paytm, they'll say हम अपनी movie ticket भी करेंगे, हम अपना travel भी करेंगे, etc. So like now आप तो movie ticket करोगे, फिर आप book my show की धंधे की ऐसी तैसी कर दोगे, because now you are competing with them. Similarly, now you have also not built your movie ticket business, and Book My Show also lost money in competing with you. It doesn't help anyone. Same thing happened for travel. Like you can look at more such examples where people say we want to do everything. See, my idea is very simple. Like build a lot more partners. You don't need to do everything yourself. You figure out what do you want to do, and for us everything you get a partner. So like that helps in reducing competition, that helps you in also making commercials viable for yourself, and that also helps in improving the quality of your product, because now you are not focusing on building tons of things, you are focusing on building specific things which you want to be good at. So we said, like, we integrated with MyGate, so my notifications go into MyGate app itself. We don't present different solutions to the society. So wherever the migrate solution is available, we integrate that solution. So this obviously a partnership approach, or I'll say collaborative approach, is something what I've been focusing on, like whether it is society business, whether it is gradually the other parts of the car business. My intent is very, very clear. I want to work with tons of partners who would be responsible for doing their fulfillment of services on their side. And I'll tell the customers clearly that this service is provided by this partner.
Okay, got it. So then you don't really have any direct competitor as such. Now, I guess your competitors will be the capex companies जो one time charge करती हैं, but इस तरीके का competitor कोई होगा नहीं आपका जो monthly subscription लेता है.
So what happens is not only that, like see, even the companies who do capex, they like most of the companies in India are traders. They import from China and they put it. Nobody had any kind of a tech expertise under around how it works, how to solve issues, etc. See, like for example, what is happening right now, like oxygen concentrators, oximeters, cylinders, etc. Like every Tom, Dick, and Harry is trying to import from China and sell it. Nobody has any tech understanding of how the product operates, what are the kind of nuances in the product. किसी को कुछ हवा नहीं. तो वो मतलब we India has been land of traders for long. तो वो मतलब like getting deep into a product normally लोग नहीं करते हैं. लोग कहते हैं ये प्रोडक्ट लिया मैंने बेच दिया अब आगे आप जानो. Basic understanding बनती रहेगी over a period of time about the product. But like the way we operate, like for example, I know that I do a lot of preventive stuff. Like for example, I know this barrier hasn't opened in the morning from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. I know automatically. So I know कि अच्छा कुछ तो problem हुई होगी. तो मतलब like I don't wait for societies to send me a complaint. I know it automatically. And then we build tons of layers on top of it. Like for example, we allow the guard there itself to complain automatically. I know which car there is a problem. मतलब this car use I used to read the tag of this car earlier automatically. पिछले 2-3 बार से problem हुई है. तो क्या problem हुई है? Like all that is system driven. So when that is system driven, like my complaint rate goes down significantly.
Okay. So abhi your business lines are basically these two, like the
3 business lines: access control, parking, and FASTag. And then we are adding more business lines.
So parking is like a B2C play, and these two are more B2B. Like here you are.
No, parking and FASTag is also B2C play. Access is the B2B. Access, I get paid by the society, but the play again is B2C because finally it is a customer. Like it is not like I'm not installing a electricity meter which the customer doesn't know. What I'm installing is this one piece of system which is visible in front of user, and if it doesn't work, the user has a direct pain. So while I get paid by the societies for sure, but
So do you have a app also?
yeah, we have a Park Plus app which now we are about to touch about 1 million downloads.
So what is the app for? Like, is it for the parking, finding parking?
So it's like parking, access control, and even in access control, what we have made is like a smart access control. Like for example, you can say that this access control, like for example, my car tag should not be read. Like you are going out for say next 10 days. Now you don't want somebody in your absence to take out the car from the society. So you can lock the tag from the app itself. Every time your car enters the society, exits the society, you get a notification on the app. Like if you have a 15-year-old kid at home and you are sitting at office, you never know how many times he takes your car out. तो वो पता ही नहीं है, मतलब वो तो हम मतलब बस यही बोलेगा पापा, मतलब पता ही तब चलेगा जब गाड़ी कभी ठुक जाती है कि ये ठुकी कैसे. अदरवाइज तो आपको पता ही नहीं चलेगा वो कितनी बार ले आता है. नाउ विद दिस काइंड ऑफ अ सिस्टम, you know कब नोटिफिकेशन जा रही है, like you know when the car is going out, coming out, etc.
ठीक है, got it. Okay. And FASTag also probably like charging your FASTag and like that.
हाँ, right. Right.
Okay, got it. ठीक है. Okay. And so what is your roadmap for Park Plus? Like next 5 years, roadmap? Like, what new products do you want to launch, or how do you want to scale up the existing products?
So here the idea is very simple. Like first, we are building a global product. This problem hasn't been solved globally. So idea is like well, we build it for India and then they take this product global. So build more and more use cases around the car owners on the app on the platform and take it ahead.
Okay. What are the other use cases you're planning?
Like gradually the other use cases would come around. Like for example, we have partnered with Car Deco to show second-hand value of the car. So now the customer within my app itself like can see what is the value of his car if he wants to sell. So that is one use case. We have partnered with Echo to sell insurance. So that is another use case that we have built. So these are some of the use cases that we have built so far. And there will be more use cases that will come in.
And when you say you want to go global, does it mean like adjacent markets or like West? Like, for example, you'll go to first Indonesia and so on, or you'll look at.
So I'm saying first we'll look at the Dubai, Singapore, Indonesia kind of markets, and then we can go for Western market.
Okay. And so in addition to this, like, your pre-Park Plus 6-month period, I think you also did a couple of angel investments. Nah? So tell me about that also.
So okay, so one of the things that I have also realized is like over a period of time, like I had some fairly decent operating experience, like whether it is Make My Trip, whether it is Paytm, whether it is Tokopedia, and this has been across multiple domains. So I figured out like internet will keep changing things, and finally, internet is the business of young guys. Matlab, things will keep changing if you have to keep understanding of how things are getting built. Then you should learn from the other folks rather than just banking on what you learned 5 years back. So I started this journey of angel investments about 3-4 years back. Now I would have put in about 15 angel investment in about 15 companies. I got a few exits as well. The most notable of them is Bharat Pay. So I put in money in them, I think in 2017-18 types, and they have done phenomenally well. Then there are companies like, for example, I put in money in Trell, again doing phenomenally well. Then putting money in companies like Dalchini, Elman Brittle, these kind of companies. Last year, in last 18 months, I think I put in about 10 companies. Hopefully, in next 6-12 months, these guys are going to go and raise their next follow-on rounds, etc. What I like about these companies is like these are in different domains and they help you think a lot. They help you figure out. It gives you an opportunity to do a deep interaction with very confident, very strong founders. Understand how they look at business, and they all give you a perspective of how they are looking to scale, how to look at opportunity. Like this very enriching kind of a conversations. So I don't do angel investment from a sake of return point of view. Matlab, idea is like if the process is right, the returns will come automatically. So I don't need to bother about returns. But what I'm bothering more about is, am I enjoying this journey? Do I enjoy my conversations with the founders? Do I enjoy what these guys are doing? Can I help them in the journey, at least at this stage? See, gradually, once you go past Series A, Series B stage, then you can manage things on your own. You have built a network, etc. From seed to Series A to Series B, that is where I think I'm able to help these guys.
And how does the deal sourcing happen? Like people reach out to you? Yeah, are you part of some network or like?
So what has happened is like there is a lot of inbound that comes in very quickly, and then like what happens is like because typically when angel investments happen, 8, 10, 12 angels will come together in a deal, and you interact with other angel guys. Then you start understanding which guy is good in what kind of domain, what kind of thought process, and then the inbound happens from the network as well.
So that was Amit talking about his journey as an employee and an entrepreneur. To know more about the offerings of Park Plus for car owners, download the Park Plus app on the Play Store or on your App Store.
If you like the Founder Thesis podcast, then do check out our other shows on subjects like marketing, technology, career advice, books, and drama. Visit thepodium.in, that is thepodium.in for a complete list of all our shows.